The Voidborn Queen moved faster than anything that size should move. Her massive claws swept through the air where Daehyun had been standing a heartbeat before. He rolled away, firing his weapon as he moved. The bullet struck her hide but barely penetrated. "Scatter," Daehyun shouted. "Do not give her a single target." The team split up, running in different directions. The regular Voidborn rushed after them. The sounds of combat filled the air. Gunfire, screaming, the horrible clicking of Voidborn claws. Nari found herself separated from the others. 3 Voidborn cornered her against a ruined wall. She raised her weapon, hands shaking, and fired. Her first shot missed. Her second hit one creature in the leg. It stumbled but kept coming. She kept firing. 1 Voidborn fell. Then another. But the third reached her. Its claw swept toward her face. She closed her eyes. The blow never landed. G1 crashed into the creature from the side, stabbing it with a piece of broken metal. The Voidborn turned on her instead. "Run!" G1 screamed at Nari. But Nari did not run. She shot the Voidborn that was attacking her friend once, twice, 3 times. It finally fell. "I told you to run," G1 said, breathing hard. "We do not leave anyone behind," Nari replied. "The humans taught me that." Across the battlefield, Commander Yuna fought like a demon. She had abandoned her gun when it ran out of ammunition and now fought with knives. 2 blades spinning and striking. Voidborn fell around her, but more kept coming. She saw the Queen focusing on Daehyun, trying to crush him with her massive bulk. Yuna made a decision. She ran toward the command ship entrance. "Yuna, no!" Daehyun shouted, seeing her plan. But she was already inside. The charges they had brought were meant to be placed carefully on a timer. Yuna had no time for careful. She set them all to detonate in 60 seconds and ran deeper into the ship. The Queen sensed the danger. She turned away from Daehyun, rushing toward her ship. But the humans blocked her path. All of them, forming a line between her and the entrance. "You cannot stop me," the Queen hissed. "I am eternal. I am inevitable." "Yeah," Daehyun said, reloading his weapon. "We heard that before." Did not work out for them either. The Queen roared and charged. The humans opened fire with everything they had. Not to kill her. They knew they could not. But to slow her down. To buy time. 20 seconds. Inside the ship, Yuna placed the last charge on what looked like the main power core. She could hear the Queen outside, fighting to get past the others. She could hear her friends dying. 30 seconds. Yuna ran back toward the entrance, but Voidborn filled the corridor. Too many to fight through. 40 seconds. Outside, the Queen broke through the human line. She trampled over them, racing for her ship. Daehyun grabbed her leg, trying to slow her. She kicked him away. "He crashed into a wall and did not move, Daehyun," Nari screamed. She ran to him, pressing her hands against his chest. Blood seeped through his armor. Too much blood, his eyes opened. "Did she get inside?" "Not yet," Nari said. "Yuna is still in there." 50 seconds, Yuna reached a window. She could see her friends outside. She could see Daehyun lying broken. The Queen almost to the entrance. She made her choice. She activated her communicator one last time. "Captain, it has been an honor." Then she shot out the window and jumped, but not toward the ground. Toward the Queen. The Queen saw her coming. She raised a claw to swat Yuna away like an insect. Yuna twisted in midair. She landed on the Queen's back. With her last knife, she stabbed down into the spot where head met body. The blade sank deep. The Queen shrieked and thrashed. Yuna held on, driving the blade deeper. For Earth, for humanity. For everyone you have killed. The timer hit 0, the command ship exploded. The blast wave threw everyone to the ground. Fire and debris rained from the sky. When the smoke cleared, the ship was a burning wreck. The Queen still lived. But she was wounded. Black blood poured from a dozen injuries. And without her ship, without her connection to the swarm, she was just another monster. All around them, the other Voidborn began to act differently. They stopped coordinating. They attacked each other. They scattered in confusion. The Queen controls them telepathically, Nari realized. Without the ship amplifying her power, she is too weak to command them all. Daehyun forced himself to his feet, clutching his side. "Then we finish this." "You can barely stand," Nari said. "Do not need to stand to shoot." He raised his weapon. The remaining soldiers formed up around him. Wounded, exhausted, but not defeated. Never defeated. The Queen looked at them with hatred. "You are insects, nothing. You should not have been able to hurt me." "That is your mistake," Daehyun said. You see us as weak because we are small. But humans are not strong because of our size or power. We are strong because we do not know when to quit. The Queen charged one final time. Every human, every Althorian fired at once. The combined fire was like a solid wall of destruction. The Queen staggered, fell to one knee, but still she came forward. Nari found herself standing beside Daehyun. Together they fired until their weapons were empty, until there was nothing left to give. The Queen collapsed. Her massive body hit the ground like a falling mountain. She tried to rise one more time, failed. Her eyes, all 6 of them, dimmed and went dark. Silence fell over the battlefield. The remaining Voidborn, leaderless and confused, fled into the ruins. They would be hunted down later. Right now, everyone was too tired to chase them. Daehyun dropped his weapon and fell to his knees. Nari caught him before he hit the ground. "Stay with me," she said. "Do not you dare die on me now." "Not planning to," he said weakly. "Someone has to rebuild this mess." Medical teams arrived from the palace. General Hyunwoo led them, his face showing shock at what they had accomplished. "You actually did it. You killed the Queen." "We did it," Nari corrected. "All of us. Together." As the medics worked on Daehyun and the other wounded, Nari looked at the destruction around them. The city was in ruins. Thousands were dead, but they had won. Against all odds, they had survived. 3 months later, the palace had been partially rebuilt. A memorial stood in the center courtyard, listing the names of everyone who had died in the battle. Commander Yuna's name was first. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Every species sent representatives. They gathered to discuss what had happened on Althoria, how a small force of humans and Althorians had defeated the Voidborn Queen. The council voted unanimously. Humanity would be granted full membership, all rights, all privileges. They were no longer newcomers or mercenaries. They were equals. Empress Nari, now officially crowned, gave a speech to the galaxy. She wore armor now, not robes. Her father's crown sat on her head, but her belt carried weapons. She was no longer just a princess. She was a warrior queen. "My people lived in peace for thousands of years," she said. "We thought violence was primitive, barbaric, wrong. Then the Voidborn came. They taught us that peace only exists because someone is willing to fight for it." She looked at the human delegation. Daehyun stood among them, recovered from his wounds but bearing new scars. "The humans showed us something important. Strength is not about size or technology. It is about will. The refusal to surrender. The determination to protect others even when afraid." She paused. "My father once said he feared bringing human warriors to our world. I shared that fear. But I learned something. Yes, humans are dangerous. Yes, they are violent. But that violence is not cruelty. It is protection. And there is nothing more human than standing between the innocent and harm." The galaxy listened, and they understood. Back on Althoria, in the rebuilt palace, life slowly returned to normal. Children played in streets that had been battlefields. Markets reopened. People smiled again. Nari stood on her balcony watching the sunset. The twin moons were rising, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. She wore a simple dress, not armor. For the first time in months, she felt at peace. "Beautiful view," a voice said behind her. She turned to see Daehyun. He wore civilian clothes, though she knew he still carried weapons hidden beneath them. Old habits die hard. "I thought you would have left by now," Nari said. "Return to Earth." "I was offered a position," Daehyun said. "Chief of Defense for the Althorian Empire. The pay is terrible, but the view is nice." Nari smiled. "And your answer?" "I told them I would think about it." He moved to stand beside her at the railing. "But thinking is hard when you have someone to protect." "I can protect myself now," Nari said. "You taught me that, I know. But maybe I am not staying because you need protection. Maybe I am staying because I want to." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the moons rise. 2 people from different worlds. 2 warriors who had found peace in each other's presence. "I was so afraid of you once," Nari said softly. "And now?" She took his hand. "Now I am afraid of what the galaxy would be like without you. Without humans, you reminded us what it means to be alive, to fight, to care." Daehyun squeezed her hand gently. "Someone told me once that fear does not make you weak. It makes you careful. Smart person. She has her moments." In the distance, a ship descended from orbit. More human warriors arriving to train Althorian soldiers. The galaxy was changing. Humanity's influence was spreading. Not through conquest, but through example. A message came through on Nari's communicator. A distress call from the Galactic Rim, a colony under attack by unknown hostiles. They needed help. She looked at Daehyun. Duty calls. The tunnels were worse than anyone expected. Water dripped from cracked ceilings. The air smelled of mold and decay. In some places, the passages had collapsed completely, forcing the team to dig through rubble with their bare hands. They moved in single file, lights from their helmets cutting through the darkness. Daehyun led the way, constantly checking his scanner for void-borne activity. Commander Yuna brought up the rear, making sure no one fell behind. Nari walked in the middle of the group, trying to stay calm. Every shadow looked like a monster. Every sound made her jump. But she kept moving. One foot in front of the other. Stop, Daehyun whispered suddenly. He held up a fist. The entire team froze. In the silence, they heard it. Clicking sounds. The sound of void-borne claws on stone. They were close. Lights off, Daehyun ordered. Complete silence. The darkness became absolute. Nari's heart hammered in her chest. She could hear the creatures moving somewhere ahead. Getting closer. She wanted to run, to scream. But Daehyun's hand found hers in the dark. He squeezed once. Stay calm. The clicking sounds grew louder. Then slowly they faded away. The void-borne patrol passed without detecting them. Lights on, Daehyun whispered. Keep moving. They traveled for hours. The tunnel seemed endless. Finally, they reached a junction. 3 paths split off in different directions. Daehyun consulted his map. According to this, all 3 paths lead toward the surface. But this route, he pointed to the left tunnel, brings us up closest to the void-borne command ship. Then we take that one, Nari said. But when they entered the left tunnel, they found it blocked. A recent collapse had filled it with debris. It would take days to dig through. We have to use one of the other tunnels, Yuna said. But that adds hours to our journey. Maybe a full day. We do not have a day, Daehyun said. The Voidborn will attack the palace again at dawn. Without us there to defend it, everyone dies. We cannot go back empty-handed, Nari said. There has to be another way. Ji-Wan, who had been studying the map, spoke up. There is one other option. The old mining shafts. They are not on this map. But I remember them from history lessons. They connect to the surface at multiple points, and can you find them? Daehyun asked. I think so. But they are unstable. They were abandoned centuries ago because they kept collapsing. Better than impossible, Daehyun decided. Show us the way. Ji-Wan led them through a series of smaller passages. The walls here were rougher, clearly hand-carved long ago. Support beams made of ancient wood creaked ominously as they passed. They found the mining shaft entrance hidden behind a rockfall. It took an hour to clear enough space to squeeze through. On the other side, they found themselves in a vast underground cavern. We used to mine crystals here, Ji-Wan explained. They powered our technology before we developed better methods. The cavern was beautiful despite the danger. Crystals still grew from the walls, glowing faintly with their own light. But the floor was treacherous, covered in loose stones and sudden drops into darkness. As they crossed the cavern, the ground suddenly gave way beneath one of the soldiers, a young man named Minho. He fell with a shout, sliding down into a crevasse. Minho, Yuna shouted. Rushing to the edge, they could hear him below, crying out in pain. My leg. I think it is broken. Lower me down, Daehyun ordered, attaching a rope to his harness. They lowered him into the crevasse. After several tense minutes, he called up. His leg is definitely broken. He cannot climb. We need to pull him up. It took all of them working together to haul both Minho and Daehyun back to the surface. When they finally succeeded, Minho lay pale and sweating, his leg bent at a wrong angle. I am sorry, Minho gasped. I slowed us down. Leave me here. Continue the mission. We do not leave anyone behind, Daehyun said firmly. Ever. But the mission, Minho protested, means nothing if we lose who we are, Daehyun replied. He looked at Yuna. Can you stabilize him? Yuna examined the leg. I can splint it. But he needs real medical care, soon. They spent precious time binding Minho's leg. 2 soldiers would have to carry him, which meant fewer people able to fight if they encountered enemies. As they prepared to move out, Nari watched Daehyun carefully. He had said the mission came first. That caring made you weak. But here he was, risking everything for one wounded soldier. She understood then that his cold exterior was a lie he told himself. A way to keep going when everything hurt. They continued through the caverns, moving slower now. Rest stops became more frequent. Food and water ran low. The team was exhausted. During one rest period, Nari sat beside Daehyun. He was checking his weapon as he always did. Never still, never resting. Why do you do that? She asked. Do what? Check your weapon constantly. It is working fine. Daehyun was quiet for a moment. Keeps my hands busy. Stops me from thinking too much. Thinking about what? He looked at her. In the dim crystal light, his scar stood out sharply, about all the people I could not save. All the times I was not fast enough, not strong enough. You saved us at the palace, Nari said. You are saving us now. For how long? Daehyun asked. Tomorrow, next week, next year? Eventually I will fail. I always do. Everyone I try to protect eventually dies. That is not fair, Nari said. You are not responsible for the entire universe. Then who is? Daehyun asked. If those of us who can fight do not, who will protect those who cannot? Nari thought about her father, about all the Althorians who had died. I used to think violence was wrong, that there was always a peaceful solution. My people believed that for millennia. What changed? The Voidborn do not want peace. They want consumption, destruction. Sometimes violence is not wrong. Sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes it is the only thing standing between the innocent and monsters. She looked at Daehyun. You are not a monster. You are what keeps the monsters away. Daehyun did not reply, but something in his expression softened. They reached the surface just before dawn. The exit brought them out in the ruins of an old mining town abandoned long ago. From here, they could see the Voidborn command ship in the distance. It hovered over the devastated city like a diseased moon. That is a big ship, one soldier said quietly. The bigger they are, Yuna replied, the harder they fall. Daehyun gathered the team. Minho stays here with 2 guards. The rest of us approach the ship. Security will be heavy. Stay quiet. Stay together. If we get separated, rendezvous point is back here. What if the rendezvous is compromised? Yuna asked. Then scatter and survive. Live to fight another day. They moved through the ruined city like ghosts. Voidborn patrols were everywhere, but the team avoided them all. Humans were good at moving unseen when they wanted to. Something about being prey animals on their homeworld for so long. As they got closer to the command ship, the security increased. They had to hide several times, pressed against walls or buried in rubble, as Voidborn passed within meters of them. Finally, they reached the base of the ship. It was organic, like everything Voidborn, made of black chitin and pulsing flesh. An entrance stood before them, unguarded but almost certainly monitored. Once we go in, stealth is over, Daehyun said. They will know we are here. We plant the charges and get out fast. How much time will we have? Nari asked. 5 minutes, maybe less. Then we better not waste time talking, Yuna said, checking her weapon. They moved toward the entrance, but before they reached it, someone stepped out from behind the rubble. An Althorian, one of the palace staff. Counselor Minho, an older male who had served under Emperor Taemin. Counselor, Nari said in surprise. You survived. Thank the stars, but something was wrong. The counselor's eyes were empty. Dead. And he was smiling. I am afraid not, Empress, he said. I serve new masters now. Behind him, dozens of Voidborn emerged from hiding. They had walked into a trap. How? Daehyun demanded. I contacted them days ago, the counselor said. Told them everything. Your defenses, your plans. In exchange, they promised to spare me. To make me powerful in their new order. They are lying, Nari said. The Voidborn do not make deals. They only consume. You are wrong, the counselor said. But even as he spoke, one of the Voidborn moved behind him. Its claw flashed. The counselor fell, surprise on his face even in death. He served his purpose, a voice said. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Deep and ancient and terrible, as will you. The Voidborn queen herself emerged from the ship. She was massive, 3 times the size of a normal creature. Her body seemed to shift and change constantly, like she was made of nightmares given form. The human warriors, she said, her voice like grinding stone. I have heard of you. So small, so weak. Yet you fight with such fury. I will enjoy consuming you, Daehyun raised his weapon. You can try. The queen laughed. It was a horrible sound. Then she attacked and all hell broke loose. The attack came 3 days later. Not scouts this time. The entire Voidborn fleet. They emerged from the darkness between stars like a plague. Hundreds of ships, if they could even be called ships. They were organic, living things that pulsed and writhed. Behind them came thousands of smaller creatures flooding toward the planet like a black tide. Emperor Taman watched from the command center as his orbital defenses opened fire. Beams of energy lanced through space. Some void-born ships died, but more kept coming. Always more. "Get me General Hyunwoo," Taman ordered. The general's face appeared on screen. He stood on the front lines, chaos erupting around him. "Your Majesty, we cannot hold them. My soldiers are breaking. They have never faced anything like this." "Fall back to the palace," Taman commanded. "We make our stand there." "Father, what about the civilians?" Nari asked. "There are millions in the capital city." "The underground shelters," Taman said. "Order immediate evacuation. Get as many people as possible to safety." Nari ran to carry out the orders. The palace became chaos. People rushed everywhere. Children cried. Parents searched frantically for family. Nari helped where she could, guiding people toward the shelter entrances. A massive explosion rocked the palace. Part of the northern wall collapsed. Through the gap came void-born creatures, hundreds of them. The Althorian guards fired their weapons. Energy pulses struck the creatures, but they barely slowed down. The guards broke ranks and ran. "Hold position," Hyunwoo shouted, but his voice was lost in the panic. Then the humans arrived. 12 warriors against hundreds of enemies. Impossible odds. But they did not hesitate. Captain Daehyun's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Phoenix Squadron, defensive formation beta. Overlapping fields of fire. Make every shot count." They took position in the breach. Their weapons roared to life. The Voidborn charged into a wall of bullets. The humans fired with mechanical precision. No wasted shots, no panic. Just cold, practiced death, but there were too many. For every Voidborn that fell, 3 more took its place. "We need reinforcements," Commander Yuna shouted over the noise. "There are no reinforcements," Daehyun replied, changing ammunition. "We are all there is." A Voidborn broke through the line. It rushed toward a group of fleeing civilians. Daehyun saw it. He dropped his rifle and pulled out a grenade. "Yuna, cover me." He ran directly at the creature. At the last second, he slid under it, activating the grenade. The explosion threw him back against a wall. The Voidborn died. But Daehyun did not get up. "Captain!" Yuna screamed. Nari saw him fall. Something inside her snapped. She found herself running toward him, ignoring the danger. She reached him just as Yuna did. Blood ran down the side of Daehyun's face. His armor was cracked, but his eyes opened. "I am fine. Get back to safety." "You cannot even stand," Nari said. "Then I will fight from here." He pulled out his pistol and continued shooting. Another explosion, closer this time. The ceiling above them cracked and began to fall. Yuna grabbed Daehyun. Nari grabbed them both. Together they pulled him away just as tons of rubble crashed down where they had been standing. More Althorian forces arrived. General Hyunwoo led them personally, his scales blackened with smoke. "The outer city is lost. The palace is all we have left." Emperor Taman appeared wearing armor himself. He carried an energy spear, though Nari doubted he even knew how to use it properly. "Then we fight here. We do not surrender." A massive Voidborn, larger than all the others, crashed through another wall. It moved toward Taman with terrible speed. The Emperor raised his spear, but his hands shook. The creature's claws swept forward. They struck true. Taman fell, blood spreading across his chest. "Father!" Nari screamed. She ran to him, falling to her knees beside his body. Taman's eyes found hers. "My daughter!" "My precious daughter. I am sorry. I could not protect you." "Do not speak," Nari sobbed. "The healers will come. You will be fine." "No," Taman said. Blood flecked his lips. "Listen to me. You must lead now. You must be strong. I cannot. I am not ready. I am not a warrior." Taman touched her face with a trembling hand. "You do not need to be a warrior. You need to be hope. Our people need hope." His hand fell. His eyes closed. Emperor Taman of Althoria was dead. The giant Voidborn turned toward Nari. She stood, placing herself between the monster and her father's body. She had no weapon, no armor, no training, but she did not run. The creature raised its claw to strike. Then it exploded. Daehyun stood behind it, holding a launcher, blood still running down his face. Nobody touches the princess. The battle raged for hours. Slowly, impossibly, The humans and remaining Althorian forces pushed the Voidborn back. The palace was in ruins, but it still stood. Finally, as the sun set, the Voidborn retreated. Not because they were defeated, but because they wanted to make the survivors suffer longer. They would return tomorrow and finish the job. In the command center, the survivors gathered. Less than half of them remained. General Hyunwoo, wounded but alive. Commander Yuna, covered in blood that was not her own. The remnants of the Phoenix Squadron. And Nari, who now wore her father's crown. "We cannot win," Hyunwoo said quietly. "We should evacuate whoever we can." "Evacuate where?" Yuna asked. "The Voidborn control orbit. Nothing gets in or out. Then we die with honor," Hyunwoo said. "No," Nari said. All eyes turned to her. "We do not die. We fight, Your Highness," Hyunwoo began gently. "You are brave. But bravery is not enough." "She is right," Daehyun said. He limped forward, leaning on a cane. "We can still win this." "How?" Hyunwoo demanded. "We have no fleet. No reinforcements. No weapons capable of stopping them. We have something better," Daehyun said. "We have humans. And humans do not know how to quit." He moved to the command table and pulled up a holographic map. "The Voidborn are confident. They think they have already won. That makes them careless. We use that." "What are you proposing?" Nari asked. "A counterattack," Daehyun said. "The palace has ancient underground tunnels, yes? From the old days before modern technology?" "Yes," Nari said. "They run for kilometers, but they are mostly collapsed. Can we get through them? Possibly. But to where?" Daehyun pointed to a location on the map. "Their command ship. The one the Queen herself is on. If we take out their leader, the swarm loses coordination. They become just animals. Dangerous but manageable." "That is suicide," Hyunwoo said. "Even if we reach the ship, we would need an army to fight through their forces." "No," Daehyun said. "We need a small team. Fast and quiet. Get in, plant explosives, get out." "I volunteer," Commander Yuna said immediately. "As do I," said every remaining member of Phoenix Squadron. "And I," Nari said. Everyone stared at her. "Princess, no," Hyunwoo said. "You are the Empress now. You cannot risk yourself." "Yes, I can," Nari said firmly. "My people need a leader, but more than that, they need to see that their leader does not ask them to do what she will not do herself." She looked at Daehyun. "Teach me. You said I have courage. Teach me to use it." Daehyun studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "We leave at dawn. That gives us 8 hours. 8 hours to turn a princess into a soldier." That night, while others rested or prepared equipment, Nari trained. Daehyun showed her how to hold a weapon properly, how to move quietly, how to stay calm when fear threatened to overwhelm. "The trick is not to eliminate fear," he told her. "Fear keeps you alive. It makes you careful. You just cannot let it control you." "How do you do it?" Nari asked. "How do you stay so calm?" Daehyun was quiet. Then he said, "I was not always this way. When I was young, maybe 16, my homeworld was attacked by pirates. They killed my family, my friends. Everyone I loved. I hid like a coward while they died." "You were 16, Nari said softly. "Just a child, old enough to fight, old enough to help. But I was too afraid. After that, I swore I would never freeze again, never let fear stop me from protecting others." "Is that why you became a soldier?" "Yes, and it is why I understand you. You are afraid, but you fight anyway. That is not just courage, Princess. That is strength." As dawn approached, the team gathered. 12 humans, Princess Nari, a few Althorian volunteers including Jiwon, who refused to let Nari go without her. They stood at the entrance to the tunnels. Ahead lay darkness and death, but also hope. The last hope their world had. Daehyun checked his weapon one final time. Then he looked at his team. "We are humans. We are not the strongest, not the smartest, but we do not give up. We do not surrender. And we do not leave anyone behind. Remember that." He turned to Nari. "Ready, Empress?" Nari gripped her borrowed weapon. Her hands no longer shook. "Ready, Captain." They descended into darkness. The first week was difficult for everyone. The human warriors moved through the palace like shadows. They set up defensive positions, installed their weapons, and ran constant patrols. The Althorian staff whispered nervously whenever they passed. Princess Nari avoided them as much as possible. Especially Captain Daehyun. Whenever she saw him coming down a corridor, she would turn and go another way. When he entered a room, she would find an excuse to leave. But she could not stop watching him from a distance. She noticed things. He never smiled. He barely spoke except to give orders. He slept only 4 hours each night, spending the rest of his time checking defenses or training his soldiers. He ate alone quickly, like it was just another task to complete. He is like a machine, she told her closest friend, Ji-won, who served as her personal attendant. He has no joy, no life in him. Ji-won was more curious than afraid. Maybe humans are just different from us. They come from a harsh world. Perhaps they must be hard to survive. One morning, Nari walked through the eastern gardens. It was her favorite place, full of glowing flowers and singing fountains. She thought she was alone until she heard voices. Human voices. She peeked around a corner and saw several of the soldiers sitting together. They were not in armor for once. One of them, a woman with short black hair, was laughing. Others were smiling, sharing food from their rations. "Come on, Daehyun," the woman called out. "Eat with us for once." Captain Daehyun stood nearby checking a data pad. "I am working, Commander Yuna." "You are always working," Yuna said. "The palace is secure. The perimeter is clear. Even you need to rest sometimes." Daehyun looked at his squad. For a moment, something soft passed across his face, almost a smile. 5 minutes, he said, sitting down with them. Nari watched, fascinated. They were not machines. They were people. They joked with each other. They cared about each other. When Daehyun sat with them, they looked at him with respect but also with warmth. He was their leader but also their friend. "Do you miss Earth?" a young soldier asked. "Every day," Daehyun said quietly. "The mountains. The ocean. The way the sun sets over the hills. Why did you leave?" another asked. Daehyun was quiet for a long moment. "Because others need protection more than I need home." Nari felt something shift inside her. This was not what she expected. Before she could think more about it, alarms screamed across the palace. Red lights flashed. The humans moved instantly, grabbing their weapons and armor. "Voidborn scouts," Yuna shouted, checking her scanner. 3 kilometers out and closing fast." "How many?" Daehyun demanded, already running toward the palace walls. 20 contacts. Small force, but they are moving fast." Nari ran to the command center where her father stood with General Hyunwoo. Screens showed the approaching Voidborn. They looked like insects, but wrong. Twisted. Their bodies were black and oily, constantly shifting and changing shape. "Our forces are mobilizing," Hyunwoo said, but his voice shook. "They will be ready in 10 minutes. "We do not have 10 minutes, Taemin said. On the screens, they watched the human warriors take position on the outer walls. There were only 12 of them against 20 Voidborn. The odds were not good. The Voidborn hit the walls like a wave of darkness. They climbed and leaped, their movements too fast, too wrong. The Althorian guards at the wall screamed and ran, but the humans did not run. They opened fire. The noise was incredible. Human weapons did not shoot beams of light or pulses of energy. They shot solid metal at incredible speeds. The sound was like thunder that never stopped. Shells ejected from their weapons in streams. The Voidborn shrieked as bullets tore through them. Captain Daehyun stood at the center of his line, his rifle hammering away. When a Voidborn got too close, he dropped the rifle and pulled out a blade. Not an energy blade. A simple steel knife. He met the creature in close combat, moving with deadly precision. Nari watched in horror and amazement. This was the warrior from the footage. Cold, efficient, unstoppable. But now he was fighting for her people, for her home. A group of Voidborn broke through the line. They rushed toward the palace, toward the residential section where Althorian civilians lived. Where children slept, Daehyun saw them. "Yuna, hold the wall. I am going after them." He jumped down from the wall and ran, not away from danger, toward it, always toward it. Nari found herself running too. She had to see. She had to know if the civilians were safe. Guards tried to stop her, but she pushed past them. She reached the residential courtyard just as the Voidborn arrived. Althorian families huddled together, terrified. The creatures moved toward them, ready to kill. Then Daehyun crashed into the nearest one. He fought with pure fury, his knife flashing in the dim light. One Voidborn fell, then another. But there were too many. One creature slipped past him, rushing toward a group of children. Ji-won stood in front of them, trying to protect them with her own body. Daehyun threw his knife. It spun through the air and buried itself in the Voidborn's head. The creature collapsed, but now Daehyun had no weapons, and 3 more Voidborn were circling him, Without thinking, Nari grabbed a piece of broken metal from the ground and threw it. It hit one creature in the back. Not hard enough to hurt it, but enough to get its attention. The Voidborn turned toward her. Its eyes were empty holes, its mouth opened to reveal rows of teeth. Daehyun moved faster than Nari thought possible. He grabbed the creature from behind and twisted. There was a horrible crack. The Voidborn went limp. The other two attacked together. Daehyun fought them with his bare hands. It was brutal, savage, but he won. When the last Voidborn fell, he stood there breathing hard, covered in black blood that steamed on his armor. He turned to Nari. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, unable to speak. "That was foolish," he said, but his voice was not angry. "Brave, but foolish. You could have been killed." "I could not just watch," Nari said. "Those children, Jiwon, I had to do something." For the first time, Daehyun really looked at her. Not as a target to protect, not as a princess to bow to. As a person. "You have courage," he said. "That is good. You will need it in the days ahead." He walked over to the civilians. He knelt down to the children's level. "You are safe now," he said gently. His voice was completely different. Soft, kind. "The monsters are gone." One small child, barely 5 cycles old, reached out and touched his hand. "Thank you, human warrior." Daehyun's expression cracked for just a moment. Nari saw pain there, old pain, deep and terrible. Then he closed it away again behind his walls. Later, after the Voidborn were confirmed dead and the defenses restored, Nari went looking for Daehyun. She found him alone on a balcony looking at the stars. "Captain," she said quietly. He turned. "Princess, you should be resting. So should you." She moved to stand beside him. "I wanted to apologize for what I said at the dinner. About being afraid of you. You have nothing to apologize for," Daehyun said. "You spoke the truth. I am something to be afraid of. Violence is what I am. What I do." "No," Nari said. "Violence is what you use. But it is not what you are. I saw you with those children. I saw you with your soldiers. You care. You just hide it." Daehyun was quiet for a long time. "Caring makes you weak. It makes you hesitate. In war, hesitation means death. Then why do you fight?" Nari asked. "If you do not care, why protect us?" Daehyun looked down at his hands. Hands that had killed so many. Because someone has to. Because the innocent deserve protection, even if they fear their protectors. Nari understood then. The coldness was not cruelty. It was armor. Just like the metal plates he wore. Protection against a cruel universe. "I am not afraid of you anymore," she said. Daehyun almost smiled. "Almost. You should be, princess. Everyone should fear war. But maybe you do not have to fear the warriors who fight it." In the distance, more alarms began to sound. The great hall of the Galactic Council stood silent. Representatives from 1,000 worlds waited. Their species came in every shape and color, but today they all wore the same expression. Fear Emperor Taemin of the Althorian Empire stood before them. His blue skin had turned pale. His forearms trembled slightly. Behind him, holographic displays showed the destruction. Entire star systems gone. Billions dead. The Voidborn swarm had awakened after sleeping for 10,000 years, and they were hungry. "We need help," Taemin said. His voice echoed in the massive chamber. "My fleets are destroyed. My worlds are burning. I have no choice." A counselor from the Metheran species spoke up. "What help can anyone provide?" "The Voidborn cannot be stopped. They have never been stopped. There is one species," Taemin said quietly. "The humans." The entire hall erupted. Voices rose in anger and disgust. The humans were known across the galaxy, but not for good reasons. They were new to space travel, barely 200 years among the stars. They came from a death world called Earth, where everything wanted to kill everything else. They had no telepathy, no advanced technology of their own, no special powers. What they had was violence. "The humans are barbarians," another counselor shouted. "They solve everything with weapons and war." "Exactly," Taemin replied. "The Voidborn only understand violence. My people are peaceful. We have lived in harmony for millennia. We do not know how to fight like they do. But the humans do. They have always known." The debate continued for hours. Finally, a vote was called. By a narrow margin, the council agreed. The humans would be hired as mercenaries. They would be paid in technology, resources, and a seat on the council itself. Taemin returned to his homeworld with a heavy heart. His daughter, Princess Nari, waited for him in the palace gardens. She was young, only 20 cycles, with the same blue skin as her father and silver hair that flowed like water. She had never left the palace, never seen war, never known fear until now. "Father," she said, running to embrace him. "Did they agree to help us?" "Yes," Taman said. "The humans are coming." Nari smiled with relief. She had heard of the humans, of course. Everyone had. They were the newcomers, the strange ones who wore their skeletons on the inside and aged so quickly. But they were also famous for their mercenaries, their soldiers who never gave up. "When will they arrive?" she asked. "In 3 days," Taman said. "I have requested their best unit." The Phoenix Squadron, led by a captain named Daehyun. That evening, Taman met with his military advisors. General Hyunwoo, commander of the Royal Guard, was not pleased. "Your Majesty, I must protest again," Hyunwoo said. His scales rippled with agitation. "We do not need these humans. My soldiers can defend the palace." "Your soldiers are trained for ceremonies and peace," Taman replied. "They have never faced real combat. The Voidborn will tear them apart." "Then let me show you something," Hyunwoo said. He activated a data pad and projected a hologram. "This is footage from a human conflict. Watch." The hologram showed a battlefield. Smoke filled the air. Explosions erupted everywhere. And in the center of it all, a human soldier moved like death itself. He wore black armor covered in scratches and burns. His face was hidden behind a helmet. In his hands, he carried weapons that roared and flashed. The soldier moved through enemy lines without hesitation. He did not run from danger. He ran toward it. When enemies appeared, he destroyed them with cold efficiency. No wasted movement, no mercy, just brutal, practiced violence. "That is Captain Daehyun," Hyunwoo said. "This is what you are bringing into our home." Taman watched the recording with mixed feelings. Yes, it was horrible, but it was also exactly what they needed. Unknown to both of them, Princess Nari had followed her father to the meeting. She stood outside the door, watching through the crack. When she saw the hologram, she gasped. The human warrior moved like a predator, like something from a nightmare. His every action spoke of death and destruction. She ran back to her chambers, her heart pounding. That night, she could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the human warrior. She saw his cold, efficient killing. She imagined him in the palace, among her people, bringing his violence with him. 3 days passed too quickly. Nari stood beside her father on the landing platform as the human ships descended. They were ugly things, all sharp angles and dark metal. Nothing like the elegant Althorian vessels with their flowing curves and bright colors. The first ship landed with a heavy thud. The rear hatch opened with a hiss of hydraulics. Smoke poured out, and through the smoke the humans emerged. They were shorter than Althorians, but somehow they seemed bigger. They wore armor that made them look like machines. They carried weapons that were probably illegal on most civilized worlds. They moved with purpose, their boots striking the ground in perfect unison. At the front walked their leader. Even without the footage, Nari would have known him. He carried himself differently than the others. More controlled. More dangerous. Captain Daehyun stopped before the Emperor and removed his helmet. Nari saw his face for the first time. He was young, maybe 30 Earth years. His skin was tan from sun exposure. His eyes were dark and hard like stones. A scar ran down the left side of his face from temple to jaw. When he looked at her, she felt her breath catch. "Your Majesty," Daehyun said, bowing slightly. His voice was rough like gravel. "The Phoenix Squadron reporting for duty." "Captain Daehyun," Taman said. "Welcome to Althoria. This is my daughter, Princess Nari." Daehyun turned his gaze to her. For a moment their eyes met. Nari saw nothing there. No warmth, no curiosity, no life. Just cold assessment, like he was calculating how best to defend her or where her weak points were. "Princess," he said with another slight bow. Nari wanted to speak, to welcome him properly, but no words came. She could only think of the footage she had seen. This was the man who killed without hesitation. This was the warrior who brought death wherever he went. That evening, during the formal dinner, Taman announced his plans. Captain Daehyun and his squadron will be stationed at the palace. They will be responsible for our defense. Nari stood up suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. All eyes turned to her. "Father, please," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Anyone but him. Send him to the front lines. Send him anywhere else. Not here, not him, Father. I am afraid of that human warrior." The room fell silent. Daehyun sat at the far end of the table, his expression unchanged. If her words affected him, he showed no sign. Taemin looked at his daughter with sadness and understanding. I know you are afraid, Nari, I am too. But that is exactly why they must stay. Because the things we fear are nothing compared to what is coming. Nari sat down slowly, her hands shaking. Across the table, the human warriors ate their meal in silence. And at their head, Captain Daehyun stared at his plate, the ghost of old battles haunting his eyes.